One of the single highest ROI habits I have ever curated or created for myself is cleaning up my consumption of social media. Now, this isn't going to turn into a video where I'm talking about the dangers of social media or things were better beforehand. I honestly think that what we are doing right here, the interaction we're having through the internet, wherever you're watching this from, is literally magic, and you can use social media as a tool to completely transform your life. By watching videos like this, finding content like mine, you've already taken steps towards your self-mastery, self-development, self-improvement. But the number one thing and the number one mistake I see people make is not filtering what they consume, not creating an intentional audit. You've probably heard the phrase, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. That is still to this day very true. You need an important circle, and that'll be for another video. But a phrase that I've adapted to that is show me your feed and I'll show you your future. A lot of times our social media feed is just the conglomerate of whoever happens to have come across us in our lifetime. A lot of people very passively hit follow. It's just all the people from high school, college, whatever. But you absolutely do not need to be seeing the bagel that Stacy had for brunch today or the same Steph Curry three-pointer on 6 of your guy friends' story from the game last night. It is zapping your mental energy and attention away from you, whereas you could be using your social media very intentionally to program your mind consciously. Because if it is unconscious, if you don't put any intention towards it, someone else is playing the programmer. At bare minimum, it could just be the companies looking to sell you advertising. I think it's the least malicious way that you could possibly perceive it. In my opinion, there's probably a little bit more going on that's trying to sedate you and disconnect you from your creative purpose. But at a minimum, you're just being turned into a product. And I don't think anyone would consciously sign up for that, but that's just the point, is if you're not conscious with what you're consuming, then you're being unconsciously programmed by what is being forced into your mind through the feed on your social media. The first thing I always suggest for people is, quite frankly, if you're not building a business, creating content, or intentionally reaching out to people to like network or meet like-minded individuals, I don't really think that you should be on social media at all or at any frequent daily sort of cadence. Now, that's a big band-aid for people to rip off if it's going from, daily consumption or constant consumption, multiple hours of screen time, to 0. So a place to start is maybe adding into your daily practice of consuming, also starting to either unfollow accounts that have just accumulated over time that you're no longer getting value from, or at a minimum muting them. If it's just like brand accounts and sports stuff, you can unfollow them and not really worry too much about the impact. But if you're concerned about unfollowing somebody and then them potentially reaching out to you, first of all, I would suggest that your mental peace is more important than their temporary offense, which is just in the first place a projection of their insecurity that social media following actually matters about their internal value. But that aside, you can start by just muting them. It sends them no notification that you've done so, but you'll stop seeing the stuff in your feed. The whole point of this exercise or this practice is to start bringing attention and intention to your consumption of social media. Just instead of tap, 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 swipe, 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 start thinking every time you see something, did I need to see this? Did this provide me value? Did I get anything from this? What is this? How does this make me feel? Did this put me in a positive mood? Or is this person sharing news that concerns me or makes me think about the state of the world or how bad things are? If somebody's constantly pushing negativity out on their social media platform or amplifying that negativity, does it really need to be coming into your feed and your mind? There's a well-known Bible verse, I forget the reference, but it goes something to the effect of stand firm at the gates of your mind. And I think that we are called to protect our own mental energy and attention, because it's through our own mind that we are able to be creative forces in this world, which I think everyone is, regardless of whether you're posting on social media or simply going about your day to day. You have to be, and you are solely responsible for protecting your own mental peace, your energy, clarity of thought. Without an intentional audit on the things you're consuming on social media, you're just going to be a victim to whatever's showing up. A good friend of mine, Milan, talks a lot about now that we live in the information age and there's such a surplus of information, The separation is not so much so of how much you consume, but it's about having filters for what you consume. You need to assess what is coming in, because ultimately what comes into your mind will produce what comes out of it. Just like your physical diet produces physical results, your mental information diet, if you will produce the mental fruit in your life, whether that be your internal state, whether you're thinking anxiously, you're constantly in a low energy state, low vibration, you're depressed, you're scared, you're worried. A good place to start is, what are the things that you're consuming? What are the things you're seeing on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube? Are you just doom scrolling either nonsense content like food videos, or is it even more nefarious than that? Are you seeing videos on Twitter of bombings and attack and fight videos, or news clippings where people are talking about the state of the economy, stuff that generally speaking you have absolutely no control over, one, and two, have little to zero effect on your day-to-day life? I mean, those two things alone should be criteria enough to completely get them out of your mind and out of your headspace. It can also help sometimes to think about the content that you're consuming as a person, like personify a social media feed as a friend. If your friend communicated to you day to day, like someone was around you and they always brought this anxious, nervous energy, hey, did you hear about the knife attack in London? Or hey, did you hear about X, Y, and Z impending economic collapse? Or they came and started gossiping about your other friends, whatever negative kind of energy they'd be bringing. At some point you would either set a boundary with them or completely cut them off altogether. So your social media is doing the exact same thing to your brain. 100% what you consume on social media will be reflected in your mental state, and obviously from your state you then start to create your stories about yourself, the things that you create outside of yourself, whether that be a business, whether that be content, whether that just be your day-to-day life. If you're having a hard time breaking into new things that you want to start for yourself, whether it's physical habits, starting a business, living your dream life, the number one baseline place to start is what you're already doing on the day-to-day. Audit your actions and audit your inputs. You have to get a list of what are the ingredients going into the machine so that I can potentially adjust the things that I'm getting out of the machine. If you, for whatever reason, are dissatisfied with how anxious you feel day to day, how much you're focusing on things that are outside of your control, how out of control you tend to feel, a great place to start is auditing the stuff that you're consuming in the first place. So unfollow people and accounts that don't serve you, mute the accounts that you're not comfortable unfollowing, and it doesn't need to be a huge purge or detox. It can just be a slow, gradual process. And that way, every time you go to social media, you're stepping outside of yourself and you're stepping outside of the little scroll window and you're saying did I need to see that? Is this helping me? Why did I even open this app in the first place? You'll probably find yourself putting the phone down a lot quicker and getting out of these automatic loops that the apps are literally designed to keep you in, and ideally in a state where you're being a creative force, because I can almost guarantee you that your state of depression, dissatisfaction, uncomfort is because there's a misbalance of in to out. You are consuming way more than you're creating. There's a chance that you're only consuming and you're not creating anything. And I think that as humans, we are literally creative beings. We are creatures, creation. It's in the Vitruvian Manifesto. We are both the creator and his creation. The Bible says we are made in the image of God. What does that mean? Well, if God's the creator of the universe, that means that we are individual creators on our own. As man and woman can create life, we create art, we create businesses. So it doesn't mean you have to be an artist by profession to be a creative force. Literally, the life that you're leading right now is a creation. Your physical body is a creation. The relationships you have is something that you created. Everything is a byproduct of your creation that is in your little life. So take ownership of that. Don't think that this stuff is just passively happening to you. And to tie it all back into social media as well, the outputs, your creation, is intrinsically linked to the inputs you're taking in. Again, think of a recipe. You're not surprised when a cake comes out of the oven if you put all the ingredients for a cake into the oven. But if you put a bunch of random ingredients that you just didn't select, you just shoved the pantry into the oven, don't expect a cake to come out. It's kind of a simplistic example, but seriously think about the stuff that you're consuming on social media and if it's serving you. If you found content like this, you're probably already on your way in a positive direction. You're at least adding in things that are hopefully adding value to your life. You can comment below if you feel like this is helpful or you want more feedback about these specific issues or something similar. But adding more in is going to provide you less than auditing and cutting out stuff that's not serving you. If my content does not serve you, unfollow, unsubscribe. I don't want anything that I create to be a part of your downfall. The only reason I do this is to help as many people as possible, and in so doing also help myself, right? Because this is a act of creation for me. I spend time out of my day creating as opposed to just consuming, and what I create is a product of what I consume. And if you look at my social media, I'm very stringent. I don't follow a lot of people. Even amongst the people I do follow, I have friends and colleagues and other creators that I've connected with that are completely muted, and it's no ill will to them. I'm just not interested in having that stuff shoved into my brain. And especially as you get down the line being more and more of a creative force and you start to find your own voice, you need less noise coming in. You have to filter out everything that's not serving you, and you only take in a few little inputs, and eventually you can start getting direct downloads to your brain. Like, you create enough actual silence and space to hear the whisper of God. So the call to action after this video is look on whatever social media platform you're using most often. You can use your screen time as like a starting place. Go to the screen time on your phone, see which app is taking the most time, just start there, and then spend the next 5 minutes after watching this video, the next 10 minutes, seeing how many people you can unfollow or just go ahead and mute, and just a little bit each day, and you'll clean up a lot pretty quickly, right? You don't have to delete your social media. I believe that this is literally a magical tool given to us to completely bend time and reality, meet people across the world, travel across the world. You can build businesses, you can create generational wealth all from your phone and social media. So I'm not saying exit the game. I'm just saying make sure that this is a tool that you are using and it's not a tool that is using you. If you found this helpful, subscribe, comment below. If you want to see anything like this, if you want to hear me talk about it on a podcast at length, comment below if you want to see that. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow for the next meditation.